Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio. I'll bet some of you have been wondering where I am and where my daily videos have been for the hashtag Art Journal Habit 2017, a daily art journaling challenge for November 2017, brought to you by Art Joy of Sharing Facebook group. I'll tell you what happened. This is the strangest thing, but my computer where I edit all my videos, I have two big screens that I use because I want to be able to really see the quality of what I'm doing. And the screens, what showed on them got all messed up and stretched out and weird. And I tried to fix it by changing the settings, and I tried to, I was trying to fix it, and I didn't want to call my friend and say, help, help, because I thought this was something I should fix myself. So I finally just used the recovery, and it went back to normal, but then in a couple hours, it did the same thing, and I could not figure out what was going on with my computer. And so finally, I gave in, and I called my friend, who's a network specialist, and I said, can you help me? And come to find out that what it was is that there was a update from Microsoft, and it updated my driver for my video settings without my permission. I have automatic updates set, which most of us do so that we can get the updates for Windows or whatever. But I didn't ask it to update my driver, and the driver is not even a Microsoft product, so it just totally messed everything up. And that took me 3 days to figure out, because I kept recovering and going back to a previous time, and then it would do the update again and mess it all up again, and I was just really getting frustrated. So I haven't been able to edit any videos for the last couple days, and so that's the reason that there hasn't been any videos. But those ones that I did miss when my computer was having a temper tantrum, you will see those in December. December is going to be a light month. I'm not going to be making a video every day or anything like that, but the ones that I missed for this month, I will throw in at the beginning of December. So today is day 28, and I am doing the prompt fluffy. And the first thing that came to me when I was thinking about fluffy is this thing that my friend used to say. She said, I'm not fat, I'm just fluffy. And it just never gets old. And then a comedian, something Iglesias, Gabriel, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, he started saying it and made like a whole career out of it because, he wears Hawaiian shirts and he's a pretty big, round guy, and that's his like tagline or whatever. But I heard that long before that from one of my friends. And the other thing that friend liked was Sesame Street. And that's kind of, it's kind of funny to say, oh, someone likes Sesame Street, but she really liked it. She didn't watch it, but she liked the characters, like I used to collect Winnie the Pooh stuff because I really liked Winnie the Pooh when my kid was younger. I had a sweatshirt with Winnie the Pooh on it, or actually Eeyore, because I really thought, thanks for noticing me. Eeyore and I we click. Eeyore and I have a lot of the same personality. So sometimes a lot of people like Disney characters, and those are kind of childish. So it's not to say that she was childish. She just liked all the cute, fluffy characters from Sesame Street. And so I decided to make my page about that saying and put some Sesame Street characters on it. I picked my favorites. My number one favorite is Cookie Monster. I think Cookie Monster is awesome. Cookies! And he would just like plow through the chocolate chip cookies. I think he's great. And then my other favorite is Big Bird. I like the feathers, the fluffy feathers on Big Bird. I always liked how they kind of fluff and float when Big Bird is walking. I would like to touch it. Like if I could ever touch that puppet, it would be really cool. I'd like to know what those feathery, fluffy things feel like. I imagine it's like a feather boa, but I don't know for sure. I just always liked it, and I just think that Big Bird is fun. So Although I have no idea whether Big Bird is a girl or a boy. So if you know, let me know in the comments because I've been wondering that for years. I don't know if it's supposed to be a girl or a boy. Maybe it does. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a bird. But, I kind of identify some of the other characters as being male or female. Obviously, Oscar the Grouch is male. Cookie Monster's male. Bert and Ernie are male. You know, but then they did have like that pink girl, and I can't even remember the fur on it or whatever is pink. Can't remember the name of the girl, but definitely a girl with blonde pigtails. But what is Big Bird? I don't know. So I decided I was going to use oil pastels. I have this really nice set of oil pastels that my friend Peg Robinson sent me. They're really smooth and nice, and I made my drawings on my gessoed page with a pencil, and then I started to color with the pastels, but I realized, first of all, that I did not want to color in that whole background with pastels. That just sounded like torment. One of the things that I don't enjoy about oil pastels, that is one of the reasons I don't use them very often, is the feeling of them. It's just a personal thing. It has nothing to do with anything about the quality of it or any statement of anything about it other than I just don't like the way it feels. So in my arm, when I'm drawing or whatever or coloring, and my arm goes across the part that I've already touched, that I've already put oil pastel on it, I cannot stand that creepy feeling on my arm. So I knew I did not want to color the whole background with the pastels. So I decided to use do mixed media, basically, which is to use more than one media on the same page. And I decided to use some acrylic. And these are the Dilutions ones. These are some of the oldest ones I have that I haven't yet thrown away, but they're on their way out because they're so gloppy. I'm not sure. I've been meaning to get some Floetrol, which is that thinning agent that you can buy at the hardware store, and a lot of people are using it with acrylic pouring. And my friend Peg, I think she was fairly successful with thinning some of her gloppy Dilutions paint with Floetrol. So I've been meaning to try it. So I haven't thrown out these yet, but they are gloppy and they are hard to work with. I have to really like scrub the brush on there to get them to spread. Not in good shape, but I wanted those colors. I wanted to use bright primary colors on my page because they're children's characters and they're bright and colorful. So I filled in the background with just very messily with some of that cut grass, I think is the name of it. And then I did go over my bird, Big Bird, with some of the yellow because I realized that the yellow pastels were not ever going to cover up the pencil lines where I erased. When you put gesso on a page and then you draw on it and then you try to erase, it doesn't erase very well. You can't get a clean erasure on gesso. It's just the nature of it. I'm not sure why. It's just how it is. So I had a few hesitation lines or erased lines or whatever around some places, and I wanted to cover them up with the color, but as we've all discussed before, yellow in any format of any type of product is not very opaque. It's just not. It's a translucent color, whatever the original pigments it was made out of, and I don't know the art history of it, but it's just not. It's not translucent. It's translucent, not opaque. So I knew that I was going to have a problem. So I decided to go ahead and go over with the fresh lemon, squeezed lemon, whatever color it is, some kind of lemon, as long as it's not rotten lemon, with the acrylic. And then, of course, I got out some stencils just to make the background more interesting and have a little bit more visual texture. An alphabet stencil from Tim Holtz, and then this plus stencil. Those look like plus signs to me, crosses, I don't know. I think that one's from Heidi Swap. And then the little swirlies, I was trying to put the swirlies on the body of Big Bird because I thought it would be neat, but it doesn't, you can't really see it. And then I just did a little bit of gesso on my 2-inch brayer to kind of just push everything back and even it up before I went on to the next steps. So I had to give it a really good dry. And then I'm back in with these oil pastels, and I think that these are pretty nice ones. I have a set of Artist Loft ones, and I tried to use some of those on the page, and they're a lot harder and they don't blend as nicely. So these ones that Peg gave me are obviously better quality than the ones that I had purchased myself, the cheapy ones from Michael's. I don't know, I guess maybe whatever the pigment is contained in inside the oil pastel, whatever the oil part is just nicer on these. So I decided to just use them. The brand, I will link in the description box below. I'll try to find these online and link them to what they are. It's like Serengeti or something like that. Serengeti, something, I don't know. Anyway, so I went around, I took a darker green and went around the outside of my characters and blended that with my finger to kind of give them a shadow onto the page. And then I started in with some different colors of yellow onto my Big Bird, a darker yellow and then an even darker yellow and then an orange eventually to give some texture and fluffiness. You can't just have it one color. That's just flat. It doesn't look like anything. And I guess I got bored with Big Bird there for a minute and moved over to Cookie Monster. Same thing. I'm using some different colors. I started out with a light color and then I'm just putting darker and darker and darker. But the light color still shows through underneath, and that's how I'm getting my highlights on the fluffiness of the Cookie Monster. So I'm kind of doing jaggedy, scratchy lines, kind of, you know, to make it look like it's got a lot of little hairs on it. Then going in with an even darker one in some of the areas that I want the shadow to be. And then my last thing I'll do is the great equalizer to me. When you're trying to do this type of a texture-y thing, you don't want to blend it with your finger because then you're blending all the texture out. So this white pastel, if I can go in with it, I can blend over the other colors, and it helps it blend a little bit. It helps it look more like I didn't just scribble, you know. I'm not a pastel artist. I'm not any type of a trained artist. So this is just what I figured out as I was doing it, how I thought it worked out for me. So definitely not going to tell you that this is the right way, but using that white one just helped me blend those other colors together, but while still leaving some shadow and highlight and making it look fluffy, which is the whole point of this page. It's supposed to be fluffy. So then I'm working on the cookies. I got out a blending stump, paper blending stump, or it's sometimes called a tortillion, to help me blend some of the areas that I wanted a really smooth blend. Like the cookies don't need to be fluffy because they're not fluffy cookies. They don't have any coconut on them or anything. So I want them to look like cookies. So I used that blending stump in that case, and then there's a few other times when I use a blending stump as well. A fatter one, I think, later. So the illustrations that are done by whoever the artist is on Sesame Street that draws these, heavy black lines, not just like a little fine lines, but there is some serious black going on in these illustrations. So I just, instead of like going in with some type of a finer thing like a pen or something, I just decided to go ahead and use the black oil pastel, even though I don't feel like I have as much control of it. You know, as far as doing illustration lines, I usually want some pretty serious control, but in this case I was just going to have fat black lines, so I just decided to use it for all my black hoping that I would not draw my arm through it and mess it up, which I actually think I was successful in not doing, surprisingly. Usually I run my hand through stuff. Maybe it's because I just didn't want to touch it, so I was like keeping my arm up off the page, maybe. No, don't touch it, it's too creepy. Ugh, I don't like the feeling of it at all. So I use some workable fixative. It's called Spectrafix, and it's a pump spray instead of an aerosol, so it's not stinky. I have that to use with my dry pastels, which are like the pan pastels, but I think it also works on this. It seemed to soak in enough, so I used that to just kind of temporarily seal my page, and then eventually at the very end, which you won't see me do this, but before I close the pages together, I used my 2-inch brayer and some clear gesso, and I went over both pages and completely coated them in clear gesso with the hopes that when they're squished together against each other, the blue won't transfer onto the yellow and the green won't transfer onto the blue, because these are not going to be, you know, framed or anything or saved in any way that would keep them from rubbing off on each other, which is one of the drawbacks of using oil pastel in your art journal. So then I'm still trying to get some more texture on the Big Bird. I'm having some real balling up on this side, and I don't know if it's because of the acrylic paint is over that and it's just not allowing the pastel to really like grind into any texture, because there's no texture. I put it, you know, it's sealed, so not working as well. My little plans for how I was going to deal with making a fluffy Big Bird aren't working as well on that side. But it's still okay. I just have to keep brushing off these balls of pastel, yellow balls of pastel, which kind of annoy me a little bit, but it's fine. There is a very thick black line and then red inside of Big Bird's mouth. I personally don't have thick black lines inside my mouth. I don't know if you do, but Big Bird does. And I'm using the white to try to clean up the eyes. I had made much bigger eyes on Big Bird, and then I realized they didn't look right, and so I had to erase. So then I have these other lines around the eyes that I keep trying to get rid of. I keep trying to cover them up where I had adjusted the size of the eyes. That rhymed. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. And there's where I go and put the workable fixative on that side to just kind of seal everything up. The texture isn't as pronounced on Big Bird, but you can see it in the close-ups at the end of the video. So then I had written some words. I'm not fat. I'm just fluffy. And I did that before I ever put the background on, but I could still see the lines through the background. So I'm just going over it with a black Posca pen. And, you know, I can't really get away with doing a page without putting Posca pens on it, right? There was no way I was going to go around those with the black pastel. That would have been a horrible mess. And then just to bring in some more red, because I'm going with the primary colors here, and well, one secondary in the green, but you know what I'm saying. I added the red pastel to the letters on Fat and Fluffy. That worked out pretty well, blending them with my blending stump. And then I go in and add a few little highlights on them with the white Posca pen, and then I think I'm pretty much done with this page except for the date. If you've enjoyed this page, remember to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment so I know that you were here. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your notification bells. Even if you have subscribed and you're not getting very many notifications of my videos, which up to this point have been every day, If you're not getting notified every day, that means that you haven't turned on your notifications on my channel, because that was a change that YouTube made, you know. So I'm just going to put the date on with my tuxedo black memento pad, and then I am done with this page. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.